Hey, Horse Center fans, just a week and a half away from the World Championships. Matt and I are talking about the horses that we most want to see at the Breeders' Cup this year.
Yeah, Brian, there's so many intriguing stories this year of horses that we put on this list. I want to see how the Americans do against the Euros. I always love that every year. Breeders' Cup's coming in just a week or so.
The top 10 horses you can't miss at this year's Breeders' Cup. Watch it now on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the outstanding pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good, Brian. I just keep getting confused with my calendar. I'm like, is Breeders' Cup really next week that I'll be coming down? And I say, nah, not yet. And then I say, yes, next week. So we're almost there, Brian.
We're a week away, Matt. Pre-entries will be announced tomorrow. The draw will be in less than a week, Matt. It's Breeders' Cup season. Guess what, folks? We're doing a Breeders' Cup show here on HorseCenter. Another one. 10 horses you cannot miss in this Breeders' Cup. 10 horses of great interest to myself, to Matt Schiffman, and hopefully all of our HorseCenter viewers out there. Matt, you ready to start the list?
Let's do it, Brian.
We're going to count it down from 10 to 1, if you don't mind, Matt. So we're going to save the biggest for the end. Number 10, I had to sneak this horse in there because I think one of the big stories that comes out of the Breeders' Cup every year, Matt Schiffman, is let's start talking Derby. And the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, of course, is the best two-year-old race of the year. Our number 10, folks, is Game Winner, Matt. Undefeated. He wasn't the most talked about horse early on, but he's been the best horse in California for sure.
Yeah, certainly is. One of a handful of horses in this year's Breeders' Cup that are unbeaten. Three races, 2 Grade 1s. A very, very nice record that Game Winner has put together in California for Mr. Baffert.
Mr. Baffert, that's another reason we want to pay extra special attention to this horse, Matt. A Game Winner. We've seen 2 Triple Crowns in the last 4 decades or so. They both came from Bob Baffert. He came close other years. So anytime Baffert has a horse of real outstanding talent at this time of year, you got to watch him. He's also by one of America's best sires, Matt. If I asked you who was the best horse that stepped on a racetrack this year in America, who would you say?
I would say Justify.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Gun Runner.
Gun Runner, yes.
Gun Runner is a son of Candy Ride. Game Winner is a son of Candy Ride. He's tactically sound, Matt. He has a nice running style. He's moved up nicely, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, a mile and a 16th. He hasn't run outside of California yet. He'll get that test at Churchill Downs. But I want to see Game Winner in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, see if he's the real deal against some good Eastern horses, and then we can start talking Derby.
Absolutely. And as I think you just alluded to, it is a very nice field of horses.
Absolutely. There's some horses in there that can upset Game Winner. Last year we saw a nice upset, and he turned out to be a pretty good horse and good magic. All right, Matt, are you ready for number 9?
Let's go 9.
Number 9 on our list. This is a horse that you recommended we add to the list. So America's best turf filly, Matt, who is it?
It's Sistercharlie. Sistercharlie comes into the race with a really good record this year. 4 starts, 3 wins, 1 second place, 3 Grade 1 wins. Very, very impressive resume. Last ran on August 11th at Beverly D, in the Beverly D at Arlington Park. So that concerns me a little bit, but there's nobody better at having a horse ready to run off a layoff like that than Chad Brown. We'll get an idea just how good is Sistercharlie. I think she's really good. I think she can handle any Euros that are coming over.
Maybe I have a little hangover from Lady Eli, Matt. I haven't been quite as excited about the turf females this year as in some years past. But certainly Sistercharlie's been the best. In fact, if you look at her 4 races this year, she's been outstandingly consistent both in Europe before she came over and since she's come to America. But you look at the 4 races this year, the grade 2 was actually her only defeat. 4-Star Crook, her stablemate, got her that day. We were there at Belmont Park. But her other 3 races are all grade 1s, and they're all wins. Keeneland, Saratoga, and as you mentioned, Arlington Park. I believe that's 3 different distances as well, Matt. So certainly Sistercharlie has stamped herself as the top turf female in the country this year. But the reason this race is a little bit interesting for me to see what she does is because of some good Euros coming over, and we'll see how Sistercharlie or the best turf female stack up against some good Europeans coming over.
Yeah, Brian, I heard that the number of Euros coming up is supposed to be a record, like close to 40.
It makes sense, Matt. We'll have a little cut in the turf. We'll have a little cool weather. So this Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs should be Euro-friendly. All right, Matt, speaking of horses that raced in Europe this year, I'm going to next bring out our number 8 horse. I had him on the list. You didn't have him on your list, but I'm really intrigued by Yoshida. Yoshida is a horse, one of my favorite trainers, Bill Mott. He's a horse, a grandson of Sunday Silence, who you know I love, Matt, out of a Japanese sire, Heart's Cry. Yoshida ran his whole career on turf. He won a grade 1 race just before the Kentucky Derby this year. He went to Ascot. He didn't get the win, but he was right there at the 16th pole over in Ascot. He comes back over here in second race back. He wins a grade 1 race in his dirt debut, the Woodward. I think he should be able to handle mile and quarter. It seems like he likes dirt. Mott gets horses ready for the Breeders' Cup. Yoshida is a horse I want to see how he does in the Breeders' Cup Classic, Matt.
Yes, Yoshida is certainly an intriguing horse in the Classic. I think we mentioned a little bit last week that Yoshida is a horse that has a chance to, if Yoshida wins the Classic, to supplant Accelerate from the top older male honors. And Bill Mott is a trainer that once he figures out a horse, he can be so dangerous. And it sure seems like he's got the, if you want to say, puzzle of Yoshida figured out with 2 big grade 1s this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting resume he's put together with the trip to Ascot, the grade 1 in Churchill on turf, the grade 1 in his dirt debut at Saratoga. I'll tell you another reason, Matt. Yoshida has been a horse that's interesting to me. It's because I saw him last spring and I just thought he was a beautiful, beautiful racehorse, a real looker, and he's developed into a potential champion. I don't know if he passes Accelerate even with a win in here, but I certainly think he's a threat to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. But on the other hand, he's a bit of an enigma. Second try on dirt trying to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. It would be interesting to see. So let's see what Yoshida does. Hey, Matt, speaking of the Breeders' Cup Classic, speaking of stealing a potential championship, why don't we go to number 7 on the list? And that is the leader of the older male division right now, older dirt male division. That's Accelerate.
Yeah, what a record that John Sadler's put together with Accelerate this year. He's got Accelerate at his absolute best. 6 starts this year, 5 wins, 1 second place, and that was just by a narrow margin. 4 of those wins are grade 1s. Accelerate, the son of Looking at Lucky. You and I are partial to the sire Looking at Lucky, and often overlooked. Very good bargain basement stallion in Looking at Lucky. And with that wonderful record, there are still question marks about Accelerate, which is part of what makes this Classic this year so intriguing. This will be the 3rd time that Accelerate has run in the Breeders' Cup. First 2 didn't go so well. They were both in the dirt mile, a 9th place, a 3rd place. But this is a different Accelerate this year, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see Accelerate in the Breeders' Cup Classic for a lot of reasons, Matt. This is another one that I had higher in my list than your list. First off, he's put together, and I still think it's almost quietly, at least quietly, east of the Mississippi. He's put together, I mean, 5 relatively easy, some of them more easy than others, stakes wins in California. He's won all the big races for older horses in California, 4 consecutive Grade 1s. Just missed in a really brave performance at Oaklawn Park, and his only loss to a talented horse in City of Light. So for that reason, I want to see if he can close the deal. Then you got Horse of the Year questions. I'm with you. I think Justify will be the Horse of the Year regardless of what happens. But Accelerate, if he's 6 out of 7 with a Breeders' Cup Classic win, 5 Grade 1 wins, a near miss in his only loss, you'd have to at least consider him for the Horse of the Year, being that he is an older horse. Looking at Lucky, yeah, he is my favorite kind of bargain sire. He's not quite bargain basement, but you can still get a good deal on Looking at Lucky as a sire. And we bought a beautiful Looking at Lucky filly for Derby Day Racing. So selfishly, I'm rooting for Looking at Lucky a little bit, and that's another reason. And then you got the John Sadler factor, Matt. I would argue that Accelerate ran a very good race 2 years ago in the Breeders' Cup when he was there in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Last year, for whatever reason, he didn't fire. But John Sadler just is, talk about being on the schneid at the Breeders' Cup. He's had a lot of good horses, and he's never won a Breeders' Cup race. I want to see if John Sadler can get off the schneid this Breeders' Cup. So for all those reasons, Accelerate is a horse that I really want to see run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Number 6, Matt, I think is going to be a little bit of a surprise to some people, but kind of like the Breeders' Cup Classic, where there's just a handful of interesting horses. The Breeders' Cup Sprint is a race like that as well, and people might be surprised with the horse that we both agreed is the horse we were most interested in seeing in this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. But for me, it's the local horse, the Dale Romans charge, Promises Fulfilled, who's just become an outstanding sprinter. And it's tough for 3-year-olds to beat older horses even this late in the year. And that's true for sprinters as well, especially as many good older sprinters as there will be in the sprint. But we want to see Promises Fulfilled and what he can do against olders in the sprint.
Yeah, it is a really terrific field in the sprint this year. And hey, Brian, what's better than having Dale Romans in a big race with a major contender? Come on, that makes everything so much more interesting and fun because nobody likes his horses more than Mr. Romans. And one of the cool things about Promises Fulfilled is that, you know, Romans had him on the Derby Trail. Didn't work out so well, but he didn't quit on him. He switched paths and went to sprinting. And when he did that, he found brand new Promises Fulfilled, who is doing great things since running around 1 turns. Got a Grade 1 in there. That last Grade 1 victory came in August 25th. I don't love those layoffs, but I'm intrigued to see how Promises Fulfilled does, if he can keep it rolling in this stellar field.
Well, there will be a lot of horses coming in layoffs, Matt, but Promises Fulfilled will not be one of them. Of course, he did run at Keeneland. I was there to see just a thrilling stretch run, edging Whitmore and Limousine Liberal, who are 2 of the top outstanding older sprinters in here. So Promises Fulfilled, I want to see if the 3-year-old can keep it rolling, go after his 4th straight graded stakes win. And yeah, Dale Romans is a colorful character that we all love here in Louisville. So Promises Fulfilled, another horse for Matt and I. Can't miss at the Breeders' Cup. Horse to, on our watch list here. Matt, another one, I don't think a lot of people will have this on their list as well, but he's both on our we need to see him at the Breeders' Cup, and that's Oscar Performance. Matt, we don't see in America a lot of horses that are outstanding at 2 anymore carry that over into outstanding horses as older horses. It's a shame. It used to happen more often. He's no Lady Eli. Lady Eli, of course, fits that bill perfectly. She was outstanding at 2 and was outstanding as an older horse. But Oscar Performance is putting together a heck of a nice career. He's not quite as consistent as Lady Eli, true, but he's already a Breeders' Cup winner. He had a very good year at 3, and now he's on the verge of, I think, winning an Eclipse Award with a win in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Yeah, Brian, I put him on the list kind of for the same reason that I put Sistercharlie on the list, because I think Oscar Performance is an American runner who's got a really good chance to take down the Europeans in the turf mile, and the turf mile is the mile distance over in Europe is a prestige distance. They're gonna, whatever Euros are coming over to be in the race are gonna have quality. Oscar Performance bounced back from his bad performance in Chicago when he won the Woodbine Mile. Got me confident again that we can get an American win in the mile.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great point. We want to see Americans defend our home turf, and Matt and I both agree that we have a much better chance in the Breeders' Cup Mile and the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf than we do in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Speaking of turf, Matt, number 4 on the list, I think a lot of people will have as a horse that they really want to see in the Breeders' Cup, and that's Catholic Boy. Catholic Boy, he lost his first couple starts of the year down in Florida, but he has been on quite a roll of late, and it's an interesting roll. The Pennine Ridge, the Belmont Derby, those were turf races for the son of More Than Ready. Then he went to Saratoga and he won the big one. He won the Travers in impressive style. He's a horse coming in off a layoff, Matt, but he's a horse that we all want to see in the Breeders' Cup.
But certainly Catholic Boy is on a roll right now. That Travers victory was so impressive against a good field. And what are we going to see from Catholic Boy in here? First time going against older horses, and it's a great classic field, but it's a great story. I don't think there's anybody that can deny the talent of Catholic Boy and that he's got a legitimate shot in here to win the Classic.
Yeah, and again, the 3-year-old championship's long gone. Justify certainly has that in his hip pocket, but Catholic Boy, if he can win 2 graded stakes, including the Grade 1 on the turf at Belmont, then win the Travers, and then win the Breeders' Cup Classic against older horses, that would be quite a year for Catholic Boy. Matt, next on our list is the first horse that we are not sure where he's running. Although I guess we didn't really mention this was Promises Fulfilled. We're both making the assumption that Promises Fulfilled will be in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. There's a chance he could run in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and in there I want to see him too. So he stays on my list even if he goes in the Dirt Mile. But number 3 on our list, Matt, I'm not sure where he's running. Are you?
No, I don't think we're sure, but I would be willing to make a wager that Mind Your Biscuits is gonna take a shot in the Classic. I put him on the list because he's just been an intriguing story all year long. It isn't necessarily that he's got a record like Accelerate, because he doesn't, or a record like some of the unbeaten horses coming in here, but it's been intriguing. His win at Maidan in the Golden Shaheen looked like he was hopelessly beaten in that sprint race, and somehow ran down XY Jet to get the win. And then trainer Chad Summers changed his course. He says, "Okay, that was all great. We got that big purse. Now we're going to stretch him out. Now we're going to go for the distance." And he ran in the Whitney behind Diversify, and then came back in the Lucas Classic at Churchill Downs and ran a big one, going 1 1/8 in that Grade 3. Kind of getting the idea out of your mind that he can't go 2 turns. He can go 2 turns, and that he can be competitive. It's been an intriguing story. It's been a fun story all year, and I guess I want to see him in the Classic to see how that story plays out.
Okay, fair enough. I'm happy either way they go. I think the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile would be a spot he may very well be the horse to beat. But you're right. This is an intriguing story. Hey, listen, he's the son of Posse. He's a New York bred. Certainly, when he was starting out his career, and even several races into his career, we had no idea that Mind Your Biscuits would develop into this kind of horse. The last 2+ years, though, he has been this kind of horse. But now the story has has unfolded and has expanded, if you will. Mind Your Biscuits. It's probably, listen, his repeat in the Golden Shaheen in Dubai, I know it wasn't on American soil, but it was one of the most spectacular races an American horse ran this year. The way he just exploded late and engulfed those other horses and ran right by to win that race. And then he came to New York and America. He's done nothing wrong. I mean, he added a thrill to the Met Mile because it looked like B Jersey was home free, and Mind Your Biscuits almost got him there. The Whitney was fine, a sloppy track. He couldn't catch Diversified, but the horse he beat, Discreet Lover, came back and won the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Then, as you said, he was very impressive at Churchill Downs. It's an interesting story. It's also a nice story, not only from modest beginnings, but also the fact that he's not Pletcher or Brown or Baffert or even Hollendorf or Sadler. He's Chad Summers. It's a nice story for the New York bred. We want to see Mind Your Biscuits. Dirt Mile, maybe. Classic, maybe a little bit more likely. We'll see, but we all want to see the Biscuit run well on the Breeders' Cup card. All right, Matt, we're getting down to the brass tacks here. All of a sudden, I feel like the feminine side in Mr. Zipsy here is taking over with our last two. Let's talk number two. She's probably been the most consistent horse in America this year, and that's saying something. Justify, of course, was. We haven't seen him for a long time. Accelerate has been ultra consistent this year, but the season Monomoy Girl is putting together is quite special.
Yes, if we put the Triple Crown winner Justify aside, Monomoy Girl basically has the same kind of record. 6 starts, 6 times, finishing first. One of them was the Cotillion disqualification. 4 grade 1s, just a spectacular record that has gone from the beginning of the year throughout all the way into September. The horse has been running every race all over the country, different tracks. You have to love Monomoy Girl. You have to love seeing if she can close it out in the distaff.
Absolutely, Matt. Another great story. Monomoy Girl. Brad Cox. Brad Cox is a young trainer. Not a lot of people know about Brad Cox, or at least didn't know about him until this year. But really one of the top young trainers in the country. Monomoy Girl, out of a young sire, Tapizar. Matt, she's run 10 times in her life. 10, I believe, 9 or 10, and she's a DQ and a tough photo away from being perfect in those starts. She ran at Indiana and Churchill last year. This year, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit there. She's run, all of her races are at different tracks. She's run at a different racetrack every time. Fairgrounds, she got a bad break. Keeneland, she romped. The Kentucky Oaks is huge. The Acorn. The Coaching Club of American Oaks, she bopped Midnight Pursue in the nose. She got taken down at Parks. Weird things happen in Philadelphia, but it's an outstanding year. But now we want to see what she does against older horses. Now we want to see if she can take the step from 3-year-olds to older horses. Abel Tasman, Blue Prize, Wildcat. There's some older ones in there that she'll have to handle to prove that she truly is the best female dirt horse in America and in the world. And I, like most people, are rooting for her. It'll be interesting to see what the odds are. But Monomoy Girl, we all want to see her in the Breeders' Cup. Finally, Matt, we have a number one. I believe she wasn't quite number one on my list, but she was number one on your list. And she has an even better record than Monomoy Girl. Matt, is that possible? Yes, she's won 8 in a row. She's coming from Europe, the daughter of Nathaniel. Matt, you want to see Enable.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about a lot of these horses being on our list because they're just great stories, intriguing stories in racing. Same thing here with Enable. The fact that she won the ARC 2 years in a row is just a phenomenal achievement that doesn't happen very often. And she's a filly beating the best boys in Europe. And now she comes over here. Not only does she have the win streak that you're talking about, she also comes in with the backstory that winners of the ARC have not done well when they come over to the Breeders' Cup. ARC also rans have done well, but I don't know, Brian. I think we've talked about it, and a lot of people feel that with Enable being lightly raced this year, she might have the preparation to buck that trend.
Yeah, Matt, it's nice when we get the best horses in the world at the world, what we call the World Championships here for the Breeders' Cup, and certainly Enable. She's not the best horse in the world. She is right up there. Just a beautifully bred filly, a beautifully taken care of filly, Judmont Farms, John Gosden. She's been just spectacular her entire career. One loss in her entire career, and like I said, 8 wins in a row. 2 of them in the ARC, man. In the last 60 years, only 3 horses have won 2 ARCs. She's won the last 2 ARCs, which I consider the biggest turf race in the world. It'll be good to have her here at the Breeders' Cup. You know, Justify killed the Apollo curse this year. Certainly Enable looks primed to break the ARC winner jinx over here in America. So Enable for us was the #1 horse we want to see running in the Breeders' Cup match. Hey, we could have come up with 10. We didn't mean to slight a lot of interesting horses out there. We could have come up with a list of 10 different horses that would have been really interesting as well, folks. But this was Matt and our list, our top 10 list. Some horses that were on both of our top 10s that didn't quite make the consensus top 10, I should mention. Matt, maybe you want to say a few words about them. Newspaper of Record, Code of Honor, Cellcourt, and Jaywalk.
Yeah, there's some great stories in there, huh, Brian? Cellcourt, that's John Sadler, the unbeaten horse who was a phenomenon earlier in the year. It's another horse for Sadler to try and get his first Breeders' Cup win. So, Newspaper of Record, Chad Brown is coming in with tremendous hype. Experts thinking that she could be any kind.
Yeah, and Code of Honor for Shug McGahee. There's the Honor Code connection there. Same owner, same trainer as Honor Code a few years ago. They decided not to go to California with Honor Code several years ago. Code of Honor, though, after just 2 starts and a troubled second in the Champagne, is coming, so I want to see him too. And Matt, you know, we made this list yesterday, Monday, and we didn't know. In fact, I suspected that there was a good chance Roaring Lion, who's likely horse of the year in Europe, was not going to come over after John Gosden's original comments immediately following his tough win at Ascot on Saturday. But now we found out that Roaring Lion, the son of Cadence Joy, winner of 4 straight Group 1 races over in Europe, is coming as well. So certainly another horse that we can't miss and we'll love to see at the Breeders' Cup. Folks, I hope you enjoyed our show. We're having more fun with the Breeders' Cup. Next week, we're going to really get down to business and talk some picks, some suggested wagers. Matt and I are going to pick the races and certainly give out some of our bets that we're looking forward to making in the Breeders' Cup, Matt, which is just a week and a half away. As always, I want to thank our sponsor, Derby Wars, the best contest site out there. Folks, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, do it now. Do it before Breeders' Cup, and then we'll only start the Kentucky Derby talk rolling after this. Winks going after a record Cox Plate win. Matt, what else? Can I get a parting shot from you?
Hey, and folks, like I said, Breeders' Cup is right around the corner. You can get your PPs on Wednesday evening, probably with the pre-entries in there, but they'll have every horse who could possibly be running in each of the races when the first weekend in November comes around. So you can start getting ready for our show next week when Brian and I come up with our picks. You folks can be ready with your picks also.
Oh, Matt, it's like opening Christmas presents when we were children, Matt, when we get the lifetime. Let's give a plug to the Daily Racing Form or whoever's past performances you use. The lifetime past performances of every Breeders' Cup horse pre-entered. That's something you got to get to the local store and buy as soon as possible. As always, Matt and I want to thank our wonderful producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show. But most of all, we want to thank you for watching every week right here on HorseCenter, folks. We will see you early next week. Breeders' Cup draw will be in, and Matt and I will have our picks. See you then.